And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment. Just going to be talking about Xavier Edwards and his breakout season for the Miami Marlins. So, getting into that. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so ensure that your question does get read in the air. Please just link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so our third segment here is going to be talking about... there's the wrong... Nope, not that. All right, I just pressed the two wrong things in a row. Sorry about that. Here we go. There we go. All right, Xavier Edwards here and his breakout season for the Miami Marlins. So let's get into it. So Xavier Edwards has been a really interesting prospect here to watch over the past few years. Was a top guy in Tampa Bay for a number of years. Then did get traded in the big Tommy Pham trade, which then landed Tommy Pham in San Diego. He went from San Diego to Tampa Bay. And, was a big-time prospect in that organization for a little while. Kind of seemed like Tampa gave up on him. His hitting tool wasn't really progressing within the organization. And they did trade him a few off-seasons ago to Miami in-state for just kind of a reliever swap. Kind of just to get him off the 40-man, really. It was kind of that before the Rule 5 draft because they figured someone would take him. So just to get him off the 40-man and open up space for that. So, obviously... Edwards' career was not going as a lot of people expected him to. Former top prospect, really not doing as great. And going to Miami kind of was the same. Didn't really hit as much last year. Kind of came up for defensive replacements in second, short, center, whatever. And then also speed as well. Really nothing. Was in his age 24 season now. And has been fantastic with this Marlins team. I mean, he's been up for a significant amount of games this year. He's been up for 32 games. He's at 115 at-bats, and so far he has a weighted runs created plus of 163. 163, I mean, that's not something to scoff at there. That's a fantastic, fantastic number there, and he's done absolutely fantastic. I mean, I know batting average isn't great, and I don't like to use it, but he's hitting 383 in this little amount of time span, and I don't really think that he's really getting a lot of the credit that he deserves for how well he's done this year. Do I think he's going to continue to be a 160 weighted runs created plus bat? No, I don't. But also, the fact that he's breaking out is a big deal. And even though he's breaking out to this regard, and I don't think he's going to stay like that, he still could be a really fantastic player going into the future and just a really, really solid contributor for this Marlins team. So let's get into it. Again, you heard what his weighted runs created plus was. Absolutely fantastic. You look at the walk percentage, which is one of the biggest indicators, I think. I mean, it's up 10% from last year. It was 3.6% last year, 13.1% this year. His K percentage is only at 16.8%, which is around the same as last year. But instead of his walk to K ratio being at 0.21 last year, this year it's at 0.78. So his walk percentage is almost the same as his K percentage, only 3% higher, which is perfectly fine. So obviously getting on base at a really good clip, striking out the same, but he's doing really well within the walk department, so it's okay. His OPS at 925, his ISO is at 0.87, which is a really nice number. Now, his BABIP is very high at 457, but here's the thing, as I've talked about with many times in this show, as much as BABIP is a good stat, and it does show that sometimes hitters do get lucky, the thing about Edwards is he's an incredibly fast player. He really is. That's the guy that you bring in to be a pinch runner for a good amount of times. And the fact is, he is going to just have a higher BABIP than a lot of players because he can beat out those infield hits. He can have that good speed, beat out a ball. So as much as it is very high, I don't think that it's something that we should really look at as a huge, negative thing. Is it going to stay this high? No, he's going to regress eventually, as I said before at the start of this. But I do think he is just going to have a naturally higher BABIP than a lot of people within baseball. That's just going to happen. I think it'll be somewhere around 330, 340 because, again, of how fast he is and just the play style he has. It's kind of like a Trey Turner, where he's just going to have a higher BABIP than a lot of people because he is so fast. So that's really nice. His WOBA is at 404, which, again, not going to stay at, but still really good. And you look also at the other stats, he's hitting a lot more line drives. Before it's 18.3%. This year it's 24.5%. He's hitting, he is hitting actually more ground balls, which is interesting. But again, he's fast, so for a player like him, you can hit more ground balls. It's okay. He is pulling the ball a little bit less, but he's hitting it to center field a lot more, so that's really nice. His hard hit percentage is also up from 18.2% to 25%, which is fantastic. His soft hitting percentage is down 12%, which is fantastic. So that's really great. Overall, he's just been a really fantastic player for this Marlins team. He's been such a great contributor for them, and I think he's really making a stake for this Marlins future. Now, again, do I think he's going to continue to be as fantastic as he's been? No, I don't think he's going to be a 163 bat for the rest of his career. I think anyone would tell you that, even the diehardest of Xavier Edwards fans, if they do exist. But when you look at Edwards, you see a guy that has a lot of versatility. Can play second base, can play shortstop, can play center field. Marlins like those kind of players, kind of like a Jazz Chisholm type, I would say, with Xavier Edwards. He plays really good defense. He's really fast, so you're kind of looking at a twitchy player like him, a guy who plays really good defense, versatile, and is very fast. And if you can get him to a weighted runs created plus consistently about a 110, a 115, a 120, this is an extremely valuable player. This is basically just, again, a Jazz Chisholm, but a little bit better. If you can keep that walk percentage and strikeout percentage at the same number as well, I think that's also fantastic. So I think that Edwards has a real chance of being a big part of this Marlins team future, and it's a big part of being a real contributor in the future. And as much as the Marlins just sold off their entire core and really remade their entire team, I think there's a sneaky good future within this Marlins team that not a lot of people are talking about. First of all, the rotation. Yes, they traded off a lot of people, but you're getting Eury Perez back from Tommy John at some point next year. Sandy Alcantara should come back for Tommy John at some point next year. You have those two guys. Braxton Garrett is still there. Jesus Luzardo is still there. You have Max Meyer, who's still there. Noble Mayer is going to come up soon. So you still have that fantastic rotation that Marlins teams are built off of. And let's say you don't trade Luzardo. You then have 6 fantastic pitchers, which you're going to need with so many pitchers rehabbing from injuries. You then, you have also, so that's also something that I think a lot of people aren't realizing, that this Marlins team is still going to have a fantastic rotation, I'm assuming they'll trade Luzardo, but I think with Sandy Alcantara, they'll try to wait for him to get healthy, and I don't think there's any prospect in the world that's as valuable as Eury Perez, so they'll kind of wait on him. But, with this Marlins team, you have Edwards, who's making a stake to be a long-term piece there. Let's say you keep Jake Berger. He's under contract for a little while. That's, 5 or 6 more years of Jake Berger on that team. You have also, of course, pitchers I forgot to mention, Robbie Snelling and Thomas White, who you just got as well. So you have them there. Augustin Ramirez, I think, will be your franchise catcher relatively soon. Obviously, was the big part of that Jazz Chisholm trade. Connor Norby is going to be your starting second baseman for a long time. You also have Kyle Stowers, who's going to be starting outfielder for a long time. Division De Los Santos, you got back in the AJ Puk trade, who I really love. I think can be a really good corner bat for you for a little while. So, as much as this Marlins team is far away, and they did just blow up their entire team for good reason, by the way, they got people back that are going to be contributors relatively soon. Like there's a future here. There is a part of there's a lot of pieces of this Marlins team that you can look at and say, those guys are going to be long-term pieces. Those guys are going to be people we look at as a Marlin for a long time, and let's just run this mock thing out here. I mean, let's say you have. In 2 years, Augustin Ramirez at catcher. You have Division De Los Santos at first, Connor Norby at short, Xavier Edwards Connor Norby at second, Xavier Edwards at short, Jake Berger at third. You have Kyle Stowers out there in the outfield. You get some more bats out there in the outfield as well. I mean, you're not looking too bad. You really aren't. Like there's some core. There's a core here that you're building within this Miami team. As much as it doesn't look like it, because you did just sell off so many people at this deadline, there is a vision here where you can say, what, this team could be good in 2 to 3 years. Now, I assume Alcantara will be gone at the deadline next year. And, teams will want to see him in a full season after coming off of injury, and that's why he won't get traded in the offseason. I'm assuming Luzardo in the offseason or the deadline as well, but you'll still have Max Meyer, you'll have Noble Mayer, Thomas White, Robbie Snelling, Eury Perez, Braxton Garrett potentially. So there's still a lot of players on this Marlins team, specifically their rotation, which the good Marlins team has been built off of the past few years, that you can say, what, there's something to build off here. So I think the Marlins could be sneaky good in 2 to 3 years, and I think they're really not getting enough credit for how quickly they can turn this team around. I love Peter Bendix. I love the job he's done there. I wanted him as Mets general manager a few years ago. Obviously, I'm happy now with David Stearns, but still, so really like what the Marlins are building here, and it kind of scares me as a Mets fan, because how good could they be, and could they be good soon? So that is it for our third segment here, going over Xavier Edwards and his breakout season for the Miami Marlins, but overall just the Marlins and their core as well. Going into our fourth segment here, which is going to be talking about some Cy Young rankings here. MLB.com did a little bit of a poll. I want to go over it. I usually do this around every week. I haven't done it in a little while because we've kind of been busy, but this is one thing I do like to talk about. So we'll be going over that, and we'll be seeing you after the break. So thanks, and bye.